And we're live. Welcome to the MMA Outsiders Live. It's the Andrew analysis. I'm Andrew Pearson, and I'm here with Andrew Richardson, MMA's resident analyst and professional fighter out of Team Alpha Male. Andrew, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Pearson?
I am doing well as well. Just ate dinner. I'm in the middle of writing Midnight Mania, so won't be as crazy as last night. Last night was, of course, the MMA/porn event hosted by Cam Soda that went down. And you said you actually know someone who fought on that card.
Yeah. I have a teammate, Matt Waggy. He won. I think he was semi-close. I don't know how they divided it up main card, but he was reasonably close to Crazy Horse, which was the co-main. He was like 2 fights before or something.
I saw the highlight of him.
Yeah, he trained at Alpha Male. Yeah, the dude he fought was huge. I don't know what weight class that whole deal was. But yeah, he trained at Alpha Male for pretty much the whole time I've been out here. But he was at American Top Team before that, and he moved back to South Florida like a month or two ago. So he's kind of like half and half. So that's how he wound up on the porn card, I guess, by Florida.
It's really peak, you can't get any more like seedy regional MMA. MMA.
Alex Nicholson, Crazy Horse, it had everything.
Crazy Horse getting into like a near brawl with Colby Covington,
who looked like way too happy to be there. That was like the highlight of his like cultural year, was being at the porn event.
I muted his highlights actually spoiling Infinity Wars for everyone, so I muted Covington on Twitter. I was like,
man, that's probably something most people should do. I mean, I remember back maybe a year and a half ago, I remember arguing with people that Covington's trolling, though it was, annoying, and it still is. I'm not saying it isn't annoying. It's very annoying. That it was working, and they were like, no, it isn't. It's too bad to work. And here we are. He has a title shot, sort of, so it's working.
Got an interim title shot, and you're actually a fan of his fighting style, too, which actually that wouldn't be a bad thing to talk about either, because that fight did get officially announced recently. Colby Covington versus Rafael Dos Anjos. How do we see that one going?
That's a tough one because, Dos Anjos is so much better as a fighter. He's just more well-rounded, more skilled, better knockout artist, dangerous jiu-jitsu guy, all that stuff. But Colby is that grinding style that Dos Anjos has never dealt all that well with. So it's interesting.
I feel like it comes down to what level Covington's wrestling really is at, and I'm tempted to favor him.
I favor him slightly. Like, it would not surprise me if Dos Anjos stuffs like 2 shots and then just smashes him. But it also wouldn't surprise me if Covington's shot gets stuffed and he hangs on and chain wrestles, and eventually just drags him down. And then once he does it once, it's gonna get a lot easier. So it's gonna be one of those fights where no matter who you pick, you have a good chance like to look stupid or to be like, I knew that the whole time, because one guy's gonna dominate the other, I think. If Covington can wrestle, he's going to take him down and keep him down. It's going to be ugly and miserable, and Dos Anjos isn't going to be able to do much. And if he can't, Dos Anjos is going to murder him. So
I'm trying to think. Yeah, no, I'm thinking Covington, man, because so RDA hits hard, but he doesn't have one-stop power, not typically. He has kind of that you can tell it hurts people.
Yeah,
it's not that shocking, maybe because they see it coming. But I mean, has he ever been able to get in a fight with a grinder and not and avoid their wrestling?
Not entirely. I mean, maybe you could say Ben Henderson. I would say he successfully avoided that.
But Ben's
kind of weird. Like, sometimes he's the grinder, and sometimes he just kicks people in the legs. So you never really know.
And Ben's weird too in that when he's clearly a strong guy, but when he grabs a hold of you, he doesn't always have that drive through. Like people are able to, I don't know. It's a weird one. If he's fighting another strong wrestler, he sometimes has trouble establishing control. Whereas, but even against Mark Bocek, I remember that was the first RDA fight I think I ever saw. relatively new to the sport. Started watching like 2012, but RDA he out wrestled Bocek. But I remember it being a back and forth kind of
Yeah.
grinding fight.
Well, I think a slightly more recent example, and I think the best one for what we're talking about is this fight with Jason High. If you
Oh,
saw that, that was right at the start, I think, of Dos Anjos. I think it was right after he lost to Habib. It might have been a couple fights separate, but it was right at the start of his big win streak where, beat Ben, took the title, beat Cowboy. It was right at the start of that win streak. And High was able to like get some takedowns and win the first round. He just couldn't maintain the pace. Like Dos Anjos was doing a good job of defending and making him work and hitting him, and it was making High use so much energy to wrestle that come the second round, I'm pretty sure second round, Dos Anjos just lit him up and stopped him. But he definitely did struggle with it for the first 5 minutes. And I think he lost the round. I'm fairly sure.
I think you're right. The of course, what stands out about that fight is Jason High got up after the stoppage and was mad and like pushed the referee and
like, all that controversy. It always sucks. I mean, it's it's obviously a terrible thing to do, but I always feel bad for guys to get judged when they've just been like knocked out, because if you get knocked out, you don't remember the next couple hours a lot of times, and it's not like it's like people will get like blackout drunk and be like, it wasn't me, it was the alcohol. Well, you chose to drink that. Like Jason High didn't choose to eat Dos Anjos' left hand. Like he was put in that state of mind forcefully, like, so guys can say or do stupid things, and it's like, all right, like I get it, you probably didn't intend. Or when they argue, it was like, I wasn't out. And then if you watch, like, they were asleep for 2 minutes, but they don't remember that. Like, what do you want from him? He thinks he wasn't out.
So I've only lost consciousness a couple times. I remember one of your last amateur fights. You caught a good one and went down. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, again, your memory, you can't trust it. But I remember, I got hit and I sat to my butt, and I wasn't like out or asleep. I was still aware, and they just called it right then. So I don't think I got the full getting knocked out, because I still haven't been knocked to sleep. But you're definitely like, the next couple hours are kind of hazy. Like it's just not all that clear what's going on.
Oh, that's weird.
Dude, getting punched in the face isn't a joke sometimes, It'll mess you up. And that's why I always feel bad, like Alistair Overeem telling everyone he thought Stipe tapped, like to the guillotine. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
like, yeah, well, he probably has been visualizing guillotining Stipe for the last 8 weeks. Like, of course he thought that happened. He's not alive.
And if you look at there was one angle where they finally found, like, Stipe didn't tap, but his hand did, like,
just hit him a little bit.
Yeah,
dude,
like,
if you make that mistake when you're fully conscious, let alone scrambled.
Yeah, so I mean, Overeem wasn't rocked. He shouldn't have been rocked then. He was the one who rocked Stipe, right?
No, he was still awake then, but then a minute later,
oh yeah,
pounded into, like, by like 3 just little dink shots, and then he was completely gone.
That remains one of the weirdest knockouts, because Stipe didn't it didn't even look like he was tired, and all of a sudden.
Yeah. Heavyweights, man, gets weird.
But yeah, so we had this crazy event go down. It was, yeah, it just about had everything. You had the announcer saying, asking, what's his face?
This is bullshit that you're not in the UFC was a good one.
Former UFC middleweight Alex Nicholson knocked out former UFC heavyweight champion.
I actually think, on the topic, I actually think Nicholson's a pretty decent fighter. I'm not full announcer, like, this is the worst tragedy ever that he's not in the UFC. But if you look at the guys he fought Misha Serkinov, who's top 10 in the world. And then he knocked out Devin Clark, who's pretty good. And then he lost to Sam Alvey, who, that was like one of those close split decision fights, could have went either way.
Yeah.
And also Alvey, despite being like Alvey, he's not bad. Like, he's been in the UFC for years for a reason. Like, he's one of those guys that, like, every once in a while, I'm like, all right, he's definitely going to lose. And I have to remind myself, I'm like, wait, Alvey is around for so long because he can do some things. You know, so he's not terrible. Like he has good athleticism and some good random skills. It's, you know, Mike Perry syndrome. It's just
They're teammates.
yeah, it's training in that freaking UFC gym and not putting it all together. But yeah, that dude when he beat Brown Bear, he the Mania money pool, that was one of my upset picks, and that was like the final card. So I was like watching that fight on my phone on Fight Pass in a grocery store, and I was like, yes, like I needed that one because everyone else picked against him. So maybe I just have a soft spot. But I think he's decent. He's not a bad fighter.
No, I mean he's not a bad fighter. I mean it is kind of sad to see Rico Rodriguez
Oh,
having fallen so far. You know, it's almost it's an old story. You know, like a fighter is um, it's like late stages of their career, and they're basically taking any fight as long as the check clears, and that's what he said. He's like, oh, porn. Oh, okay, good. The check's gonna clear. There's money in porn.
I mean, he's right. That's the real question behind this whole event, and that's what I want to ask Matt about. I want to know what these coins equated to in dollar amounts.
That was the weirdest part because
Dude, how much did they make? I want to know.
and they announced the biggest donor afterwards. Your biggest donor was I have huge titties.
Oh, that
Matt.
was great. I mean, for all the, you know, potential porn usernames, I feel like that was pretty tame. Like that's something I could see the UFC accidentally like flashing on a tweet of the fight or whatever, you know? That's not bad at all. It could have been way worse.
It's true. It's true, man. I mean, now that the boundary's finally been breached between porn and MMA. I feel like it was you know, it was a paper thin layer to begin with, and now you know, who knows?
Well, I think did War Machine breach the boundary first? Is the question.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I prefer to block everything War Machine related out of my memory.
That's reasonable. I remember in high school when War Machine came back out of prison and was fighting for Bellator. And he won a couple of fights and like looked decent, if I remember right. And I was telling my buddy, because still, even before all the complete, you know, horrible things he did, he was like a ridiculous story already. So I would tell my buddy about it. I'd be like, dude, War Machine's fighting this weekend, like blah blah blah. I'd tell him like the crazy hijinks and all the stupid shit he got into. And then like a year later, he texted me. He's like, "Is that the same War Machine?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "It's not all like that."
That's funny, man. It's you know what's weird is like when I got into MMA, Lyoto Machida was champion, and so there was this whole thing about like, oh, MMA fighters are actually really nice and respectful people. You had Anderson Silva, you had Lyoto Machida, and like, you know, they're killers in the cage, but they're all really nice guys outside of it. And a lot of cage fighters are really nice people, but you also have your wild personalities.
I mean, it's you know, it's fringe for a reason. I think you do get. I think a majority of people are very friendly, at least in my experience. You know, like most egos get checked early on. Like, you know, it's hard to keep an ego and make it to the UFC unless you're a real stud. Or guys just put on, you know, an act. Like I think Kevin Lee hams it up, you know, just because.
Colby Covington obviously does.
Yeah, beyond hamming it up, but it's definitely MMA is a sport. It's like any other kind of fringe profession where it's like people get into it because they don't like being told what to do. In general, like I don't think most fighters, even the really nice ones, would do that well in an office because all the, you know, just strict nonsense rules. It's not that they can't function. It's like being a fisherman. You just want to do your own thing and not have to, you know, conform. And I think that's a lot why you get a lot of fighting weirdos too, is because then you get the guys who don't want to conform and they're a little crazy, and then you get War Machine.
So actually, that's an interesting segue into another thing that happened this past weekend, which was Leslie Smith getting paid off by the UFC. So, so I mean, a fighter, ranked fighter, on a 2-fight win streak,
and entertaining too. Like Leslie has to be one of the more entertaining
Oh yeah,
fighters in women's MMA. Period.
absolutely. She's down to throw hands with just about everyone. She fights at a very fast pace.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, they of course. I mean, it's pretty obvious why they did it because she was organizing Project Spearhead to try to
yeah,
get the UFC employment status
yeah.
looked at
Analyze, right?
by the
Yeah,
National Labor Relations Board. Um, and it was what was interesting was she really wanted to fight, and she was basically in a situation where she would have been fighting for free. She actually would have been risking.
yeah.
Uh,
Risking $30,000 to
yeah.
fight.
Well, she would have I guess gotten 20% of
So 25,000 because Aspen's like 2 fights in and probably doesn't make any money.
exactly.
Um,
So it was she's like she really wanted to do it. Like
yeah,
the fighters it's in their nature. They will fight for free if they let themselves. And she had to tell herself basically, no, this is against everything I'm trying to work for. Fighters making a living wage, at like the status, obviously status as pro athletes. What's at stake here is um, fighters actually getting paid their worth. They get paid like the estimate right is like 17% of the UFC's profits versus 50% or 60-70% in boxing, 50% for mainstream sports like the NBA. So we're talking like a lot of fighters, even UFC athletes at the highest level, don't have a lot of money. I remember when I was first writing Midnight Mania, it was like, oh yeah, no, Pat Cummins was homeless. Carla Esparza was peddling her bike that she won on Ultimate Fighter to make ends meet, like to pay some bills. And it was like, how are these guys? Ala Quinta is a recent example. He makes more money selling real estate than being a top 10 professional fighter in the UFC. Um,
I think you get a mix there of guys who, I mean, I think in general I agree that guys should get paid more, and that would eliminate a lot of it. But anytime I hear the horror stories, I do kind of question what people are doing with their money, because I train with a ton of guys all levels, like the Chad Mendez, like we talked about, who fought for the world title twice, to like guys like Benito Lopez and Joseph Morales, who are my close friends and made their UFC debut in the last 12 months. And I mean, like, I know what those guys are making, and it's not professional athlete money, but it's not I have to sell my bike or I'm homeless money either. So
yeah,
sometimes I do wonder, like, how did you end up in that situation? Same like when I hear guys spent like $30,000 on a training camp, and I'm like, how did you manage that? Like, did you
McGregor.
buy the Dragon Ball Z like time chamber thing? Like, what the hell are you paying for? Like, yeah, I don't get it. I mean, it's every gym situation is different, but in general at Alpha Male, you pay your monthly thing that the whole team pays the same rate. That did go up when the new gym got built, sadly. But yeah. But you pay that, and then if most of the time, if you have a specific coach you've been working with for years, they'll give you a good rate. They're not going to charge you their full whatever. And even if not, you get like a package where if you drop like $1,000, you're good on mitt sessions for your full fight camp. So sometimes, man, I don't get when I read like, yeah, I spent like $30,000. Like I get if you're TJ Dillashaw and you're flying into Lomachenko's camp or something, like yeah, that's probably expensive, and not everyone can do that. But I mean, I can't think of a specific example, but every once in a while you hear a bunch of them where guys are like, yeah, I spent my entire show money on a camp, and I was like, well, maybe you shouldn't have done that. Like, why?
It's a good question. Like I don't know. I think so. I think when there's travel involved, like fighters based out of England, I know.
Yeah, that definitely can add up
Like if you have to travel to get to a good camp, if you got a family, you can't always just up and move your whole family
for sure.
to where there's a good gym. So I mean, I think it varies from fighter to fighter. Um, but the interesting thing is too, like you said, fighters are extremely individualistic, and I think that it presents a challenge in terms of getting fighters to organize or even get behind the idea of a union. What's your sense? Have you talked to people at Team Alpha Male about that?
Not really, honestly. No, I truly haven't. I'm curious if any of my friends have sent in a Project Spearhead card or not, because I just don't know. They might have, but who knows? I think a lot of people just stay out of the conversation too.
Yeah,
Like they're just like, I'm just like, especially like guys that are new. I mean, it's
you
definitely there's a motivation to like, yeah, I have one UFC fight. Like, I'm not trying to get my name on the list of like problem children yet, you know?
especially when it gets Leslie Smith out. You know what I mean? Like she got
Yeah,
her money, which is funny because the week prior, Dana White, when asked if
we're
fighters,
not that rich. Yeah,
he's like, "We're not that rich," which
I
is
mean, you are, but what's it called? That I think that Leslie Smith, them paying her off, I think that was a bad move because you did nothing but make her look right and potentially give her a case in court. I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna claim that I know if she'll win or not. She definitely doesn't have the money on her side, lawyer wise, but I just feel like it probably wasn't building that much momentum for what the reasons we just talked about. You know, like I don't think the UFC was like, Leslie's going to change our whole system of operations just yet. I don't think the fear was there. And instead of just trying to, just let it do its thing and then taper out, just like most of the other ones have, they were like, nope, gone by. Like, we're going to pay you off to not fight. But it just seems like a really bold move. And I mean, maybe they do. I mean, obviously, the UFC would have more info than I do. Maybe she did have a lot of names together and they're starting to get worried about it. I don't know.
could be.
But it just seems like so many of these potential organization attempts have failed. It's like, why are you going to spend an extra 30,000 and make yourself look bad and obviously like side against it when you've tried to look neutral? It's just really odd to me.
No, it is interesting, and I think it definitely raises her profile, but it does get her out the UFC. And people are telling Cajun Johnson, who of course is the vice president,
Yeah.
that he should basically watch his back. Um, and he's got a tough fight coming up. He actually had a fight announced recently. It was I think it's Islam Makhachev.
It is. Yeah, I feel like they've been matching him up with tough fights already, and he's been winning. I mean, I didn't expect him to win those fights, but he's come through and fought well. Um, and I definitely think like there's a good chance that they were like, all right, like we're not gonna softball you in any fights. Because I don't think it's been an unreasonable level of competition.
No,
Like it's not like they gave him like a top 5 guy. It's just they looked among like, all right, who's unranked and who's pretty tough. Like Adriano Martins,
oh
who
yeah,
Johnson beat in a really weird fight. But either way, Adriano Martins, I don't remember his exact record, but it's something like 18-3, a lot of wins to very few losses. That dude was super good and was very expected to win. And
yeah.
then when he lost, they cut him. So
Oh wow, actually, I didn't realize that.
yeah,
That kind of
I'm
sucks for him.
yeah,
But and then Stevie Ray is a pretty
top
good fighter.
prospect has had a good few knockout wins in the last couple years.
Yeah,
Not a bad
so
fighter. And now they went full Dagestan.
yeah, matched him up with yeah, I think it's Islam Makhachev. So that'll be an interesting one. Um, and then we've got some other. So I mean, that's kind of a side note. I mean, if you are a UFC fighter, I would encourage you to sign the Project Spearhead card. You might as well. Like it could make things considerably better in the long run. Um, but um, but yeah, we've got some other matchups coming up, including a heavyweight fight. Derek Lewis versus Francis Ngannou. I hate this fight because I like both guys, and there's a possibility one of them is going to sleep. It's pretty
I don't
hot.
know if you can call it a possibility. I would say it's a probability, or even something that, like a damn near guarantee. And I try not to say things about that, like about heavyweight fights, because I think people push that too much, where they're like, one guy's definitely going to sleep, when really, if it goes past like 5 minutes, they're gonna gas out and like clinch each other for the next 10.
Not these
But,
two.
oh, hey, Case is in.
Hey,
Hey,
Case.
what's up? You
What's
hear
up,
me?
Case? So we're
You hear
just
me?
talking about Francis Ngannou versus Derek the Black Beast Lewis. and trying to figure out which one of them is going to sleep. Because normally when heavyweights get past the first round, like Richardson was just saying, people out, but both these guys have power going late. Like we've seen it more with Lewis, but Ngannou stung Stipe after being totally exhausted in the third round.
That fight, the Ngannou and Stipe fight, if you rewatched it, it's the worst fight ever. Like, it's so boring. But watching it live, every time Ngannou threw like an arm punch, it was like, oh shit, that's gonna knock Stipe out. And it was like, it could be terrible. He could like wrist punch him, and you'd be like, oh, Stipe, don't die. Like, that's how hard that dude hits, even when he's dead tired. So he doesn't have the proven Derek Lewis, can come out of nowhere in the 5th round and knock you out. But I would not be shocked at all if he can stop people when he's dead tired. That dude still hits really hard.
Hello.
I mean, you got to favor Ngannou, right? But obviously Lewis had a pretty, I'm going to call that a puncher's chance because
Hello.
Punchers.
What's up, Case?
Okay, sorry.
You good?
I didn't know if y'all could hear me at all.
Yep, I hear you.
Okay, keep going. Sorry. Apologies.
We can now. Well, Case, now that you're talking, what's Ngannou Lewis?
What about Ngannou Lewis?
What are your thoughts?
Who you're
Oh, I have a weird feeling Derek Lewis is going to get on Mount and knock him out. I have a weird feeling.
If he gets on top, I think he does win.
Because, I mean, his jiu-jitsu was good enough to kind of, like, wall walk himself up to, like, a weird clinch position with Stipe, but if Derek Lewis lands some ground and pound in any, like, half guard or mount, his jiu-jitsu is just not good enough, and he's not, I don't know how to put it, Derek Lewis is bigger than Stipe. He's not as technical of a grappler, but he's so big. He cuts weight. So, I mean, I don't know. I have a feeling if it stays up on the feet, I have a strong feeling Ngannou wins unless Derek Lewis lands a bomb. But if he gets him down once, I'm leaning that Derek Lewis, ground and pound, bringing out the beast.
I actually think Lewis's wrestling takedowns look better against Tybor than they have recently. Like, I don't remember exactly how he got him down, but there were a couple times where he like pretty smoothly caught a kick or like transitioned in a scramble to gain top position. Where I feel like before it was like that kind of Luke Rockhold situation where it's like, yeah, he'll murder you if he gets on top, but he doesn't have a consistent way to do that. And I think Lewis did look a lot better at getting it to the ground last time out. So if he can put Ngannou on his back, which will be hard while Ngannou's fresh, but if he can do it, I think you're right that it won't last long there.
What do you think, Mr. Pearson?
I actually hadn't considered the ground angle. The thing about Lewis and his ground game is he's so hit or miss. It's so heavyweight. Like he took down the last guy he was fighting. The guy has a very difficult to pronounce name. I'm talking about Derek Lewis.
Yeah,
about Tybura.
Tybura last? Yeah, the Polish guy?
Oh, I'm thinking of the Russian guy he fought before that.
Olenek? Olenek?
No, it was the dude who knocked out Chase Sherman. That
Oh, Abahalahimimiyah.
Yeah, Abdurakhimov. That's what it is.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah, I had to write his name out, and I still don't remember it. But
he broke both of his arms in that fight. Wasn't that the stat? He broke his arms?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. I think that's right.
That's insanity, guys. A dude broke both of his arms. Yeah, I mean, I'll Google it while y'all continue talking, but I think
he remembers the fight to watch. What happened eventually was Lewis got him down, bundled him to the mat, and then just put him out via ground and pound. It was like the 4th round. But against Tybura, he got him to the ground, and then he just kept getting reversed in his position. So I don't know, man. The other thing, like both these guys, Lewis typically, if he's not exhausted, can just stand up underneath almost anyone. And Ngannou generally can too. So I don't know. Like if Lewis could get position, yeah, his ground and pound is lethal. I don't know, man. I don't want to pick against Derek Lewis. First of all, because he lives like 10 minutes from me, so he could come and find me. But I also really like the guy. But I can't. Also, I feel like I can't pick against Ngannou.
I mean, the one thing that hurts Lewis in my eyes is that one of the times he got knocked out in the UFC was Matt Mitrione, and it was him coming in on like a right hand, and Mitrione just kind of weird uppercutted him. And if Ngannou can do anything, it's weird uppercut people.
That is true.
So that's a little worrying.
And he also got knocked out with that weird,
Hook kick.
hook kick.
Yeah, both of his knockouts are like weird, and I feel like his striking is quite a bit better than it was then. So I don't think that Ngannou is going to easily catch him with that stuff, but I could see him getting caught. His chin's good.
I think he's improved too. I'm not saying otherwise. It's just that's a little eerie that it was kind of just that weird shovel uppercut that he got caught with by Mitrione.
Yeah, it's true. Mitrione's fast. That is one thing. Mitrione has fast hands.
Fast
he's not super
weird.
powerful, but he's got super fast hands.
Yeah.
So my take is, ground and pound goes to Derek Lewis. If it stays on the feet, I've got Ngannou. I mean, Derek Lewis could knock him out. Derek Lewis he throws bungalows. When he connects, I mean, he's just as scary. It's just I think Ngannou is a better striker.
Yeah, I think I want to say Ngannou's footwork is better. Lewis, he's pretty good, and he trains at Houston Muay Thai, which they're really good over there. But he doesn't always put himself in position to use his hands. He's got really good hands. He hits really hard. But I feel like Ngannou generally can hit you from further out or put hands on you a little bit more consistently. What do you think?
Yeah. Outside of the Stipe fight, which I think was like a good example of inexperience kind of beating a guy, I think Ngannou has done a good job of like maintaining the distance and striking from where he wants to strike. And then he just completely threw all that out the window against Stipe. But assuming he doesn't do that against Derek Lewis, then yeah, I would agree. He just kind of knows where he wants to be, usually, which is on the outside, like firing straights or kicking you, and then when you try to come in, he hits you with those sneaky hooks.
Yeah, he's a pretty good counterpuncher, which we didn't really see all that much against Stipe.
He just chased him. It was weird.
I feel like he could take that fight again tomorrow, and if he had a better game plan, it could look very different.
I'm sure what he did wasn't the game plan.
Yeah, he didn't follow the game plans. I think Stipe, though, knows his clear weakness now. Stipe clearly adrenaline dumped after that first round because Stipe's never looked that gassed. I don't know if y'all remember. Stipe looked super gassed in the third and fourth round.
He was tired. Well, I think it's also the stronger a person is that you're wrestling, like the bigger and stronger they are, the more exhausting it is to wrestle them.
That's
and
true.
I think that was part of it.
Well, Ngannou, the pace Ngannou pushed in those so the fight sucked after the first round, but that first round was intense. It was like
they were running. He was running.
It was like Mad Max Fury Road all packed into one round.
Hey, but there is a way to beat Ngannou now. Derek Lewis is not literally the exact fighter by any means similar to Stipe, but he sees like the holes. Before that, there was no holes. Ngannou had no holes. He was Captain France, Captain Cameroon. No one knew what to do with him. Now there's a way to beat him. It's survive the first round and then chase him and wrestle him. Like the blueprint's there, kind of.
Which there are probably like 3 or 4 people that have a chance at doing that.
You're right. I think Derek Lewis is one of them. I'm just saying, unless he goes bungalowed out and just tries to knock him out in the first round too, which
could still maybe work. You never know.
Yeah.
The reason I don't like this fight is because again I like both guys, but if Ngannou loses twice in a row, especially if he loses by knockout, that will change the whole trajectory of his career. And Lewis is really good, but it's hard to see him beating Stipe unless he lands that big punch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think either of them are going to beat Stipe for a while. I think Ngannou would lose the second one. I think he'd be still good, but Derek Lewis is a top 5 heavyweight. So let's not sell him too short here. He is a top 5 heavyweight. So losing to him at heavyweight doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything.
Nothing at heavyweight means anything.
Right? You could be number 30 fighting number 4 next week. You never know.
Yeah, like Ngannou, it definitely, like, in a real division, I'd be like, yeah, you don't want your young prospect to lose twice in a row. But, like, Ngannou can lose 2 in a row, and then he'll fight, like, Stefan Struve, and suddenly he'll be in the win column again and ready for a title shot. So, it's heavyweight. It's weird. Assuming that Ngannou is actually 30 years old, like it's reported, if that's true, then we have 10 more years of possible Ngannou title shots, and then we have another 5 years of title shots in Bellator. So,
that's what I'm talking about. 50-year-old Ngannou in there fighting for.
Dude, I'm not signing to fight 50-year-old Ngannou.
I'm down with it. Open weight, Andrew versus Ngannou. Let's go. Yeah, it'll be a fun fight. No matter who loses or we win, and their fight career won't be off too hard because it's heavyweight. No one really cares. There's no rankings at heavyweight, really.
Dude, if Arlovsky wins like 2 more fights in a row, he can get a title shot. And
I know.
That's all that needs to be said.
He should have got a title shot before his fight he lost last time. I feel like, what was he on, a 4 or 5 fight win streak or something?
Before he lost to Stipe, yeah.
Yeah, I felt. Wait, I thought he lost to Stipe and then he fought a few more people.
He lost a few more right after losing to Stipe, and then now he's won 2.
I think it was after the Travis Brown fight. I was like, he should have got a title shot.
Yeah, then he fought Stipe instead. And
that's what it was. I was like, that's wrong. That was wrong.
Yeah.
I'm about to read his wiki and cry a little bit while we're talking. Dang, that's rough, man. Dang.
Speaking of existentially, have you Bella?
You're lagging out for me. I can't hear anything.
Yeah, you're lagging out, but I think you want to talk Fedor and Frank Mir. That's what I got from.
Yes,
I heard Mir. I don't know if I heard Fedor, but I'm with you. Is he frozen for you, Major?
Yeah, I can't really get in.
No, but that's what I want to talk.
Oh, you're back.
Oh.
Am I?
Right. Yeah, Pearson, give us 30 seconds of you talking. Let's see if this will come through.
We could just take it from here while he figures it out. Assuming he's talking about this fight, who do you have?
Well, either way, we can talk about it. We'll take control. Dude, I feel like Frank Mir is at that stage of his heavyweight career where he's just going to walk out and kind of move slow and get punched out. And I think Fedor is like a year or 2 from being at that stage. I think he still has a little bit of doing his own punching left. So I like Fedor to knock him out.
I'm actually not against that. I'm terribly biased, so it's hard to talk about this fight without talking about that. But I mean, Mir has been a counterpuncher for the last, I don't know how many years. You'd have to go back. I mean, if you remember the Overeem fight, he looked all right in the Overeem fight, but that's where you really started seeing him. I remember Joe Rogan talking about like he's rejuvenated his striking, and really he was just counterpunching. He looked more technical, but I mean, he kind of just sat back and waited, and it worked a couple times. He knocked out Todd Duffy. That crazy. I don't know what happened in that fight. That was weird.
Dude, Duffy like read on the internet that he was going to knock out Frank Mir really easily, and was like, "Oh, I guess I don't have to train or try." I think that's what happened.
Todd Duffy is a tangent. Man, that's like seems like so talented, but kept doing wild ass shit in the fights and kept getting knocked out in crazy ways. But yeah, Frank Mir tried to, I guess, rejuvenate it, and he kind of turned into a counterpuncher. It didn't really work, as you can tell from his wiki page. But I mean, he still hits really hard. So I mean, Fedor could do something silly and get caught, like with the Mitrione fight, where I don't know. That was the most awkward knockout in the heavyweight division for a while. It was like you hit him and they both fell over, and then they like got up and then.
Yeah, I feel like if you put Mitrione with Mir, you would just get a Mitrione knockout.
Mm-hmm.
When you put him with Fedor, you had them both hit each other. Like I feel like Mir, I just don't know what he brings to the table offensively anymore. Like I don't know I feel like Fedor can still like bounce towards you and sling a right hand, and it's like Mir, I don't know what is 2018 Mir's path to victory in fights.
Yeah, I feel like his path is get a big punch maybe and get on top, because I don't see him playing guard too efficient. I mean, at his age, you got to realize the mobility's going. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he could submit Fedor. The ground game sounds intriguing if it goes there.
But no, there's no way. I would bet a good deal of money that this fight has nothing to do with grappling unless one chokes the other off of like a knockdown.
Yeah.
Dude, at
No
this,
one's shooting.
at
No
this
one's
point in
shooting.
their career, no one wants to freaking bend at the waist and shoot for a double leg. That's way too much.
Yeah, it'll come off of a knockdown. It'll come off of a knockdown for sure. But I'm just saying, if it does, it'll be fun. Are you back?
I'm back.
Okay, welcome back.
Thank you.
We're talking about Mir and Fedor.
I've been back for a minute. I've just been listening.
Oh, okay. On Fedor, I didn't want this fight to happen. I haven't wanted the last 8 fights to happen, so this is always awful for me. This is like watching their child go to. Okay, I won't say that. Their child go into a fight, and they know their child is got like an issue, like he can't run very fast or something. Like they just know that their kid is just clearly outmatched, and they're just like, oh, but he's not really outmatched. It's just more that I know Fedor's gonna do some wild things because he thinks he's like still the 2007 Pride Fedor, and it's something crazy is gonna happen maybe, and I don't want to cry again. Maybe we see a heel hook from Frank Mir. I don't know. This is one of those fights that I don't want to happen, but it's happening. So.
See, I don't think that Fedor has any ligaments left to rip in a heel hook, so I think it would be fine. He would freak out at that point. Yeah, there's no way his bones are held together by anything other than like duct tape and Russian prayer.
Yeah, I agree with you. That should be an image. We should draw that.
Those Orthodox prayers, don't count them out.
I'm not counting him out. He's bringing his priest to the fight again.
There's like 1 billion people in Russia or something crazy, right? That's a lot of
like 300 million
spiritual strength.
Yeah, he's bringing the whole church with him. You remember those old Showtime fight, like behind the scenes? He would have his priest training with him, like not like workouts. Like he'd have his priest like boxing. It was amazing.
I didn't, but that sounds really believable.
You watch it. Like they go do the sauna, they'd come back out, they'd go box. His priest would have his shirt off, but all the other religious garb on, and then they'd go like wrestle. And it was like, this is so surreal. But yeah, that's Fedor. I have Fedor by knockout round 1, just because I think he's faster and might be a little bit less beaten down. You take it, Pearson.
Oh man, I'm gonna say Mir, because I just don't know that Fedor can take a shot nowadays, and he's much smaller. He's just much smaller. I mean, Mir was trying to tighten up his boxing for a minute. Obviously, it doesn't work against like the Mark Hunts of the world, but I'm guessing it probably works against Fedor. I don't know, man. This is one of those fights where you get kind of depressed thinking about it. But I'm gonna say Mir by double jab hook. He's gonna double up on the jab and then throw a lead hook like he did against Bigfoot.
Mir hasn't fought for over 2 years, by the way. Just to put that out there.
That's crazy.
Just throwing that out there. He only fought like 5 times over 6 years before that. It is crazy to look at his like he took like from 146 on, he just slowed down to like 1 fight every 1.5 to 2 years.
It's almost as slow as the Cain Velasquez pace.
Yeah. Fedor though kept like he took some breaks, but he just like but then he would take 3 fights in a row and you got sad.
Yeah, about that guy in Japan. He hasn't beaten anyone legit.
Every once in a while, even old age Fedor like shows some good stuff. Like I'm bringing up his page so I can see what years I'm referring to. Like I thought he looked good. Okay, never mind. This was fairly long ago. But when he fought in Risen, start of 2016, end of 2015, he looked all right. Like he was moving well. Just wasn't fighting a guy that great. But yeah. I don't know. That's actually more recent than Frank Mir's last win. So who knows?
Yeah. I mean, Fedor fought in 2017. Just like that was a little less than a year ago. Frank, I don't know, man. Mir, I don't know, man. I want Fedor to win, even though
we're looking at 4 knockout losses for Fedor, for 8 for Mir. So I think, like you said, durability for Fedor is in question, but I think it's kind of in question for both guys, unfortunately.
Yeah, Mir got rocked even in the fights he won. If you remember the Duffy fight, he got cracked in that fight too.
Yeah.
He did.
They both get cracked. They both don't have chins. They both seem to hit hard. Fedor seems to be a little bit less worn and seems to move quicker, but I don't really know what's going on. He's a middleweight that's been fighting at heavyweight for 15 years. It doesn't make any sense.
Best case scenario, they get into a slugfest. Fedor knocks him out.
That's bad. Yeah, I'm hoping for a flying triangle from Fedor, just to round out his game. That's my pick. Don't at me.
To try.
Yeah, I think we've exhausted that one. That's the kind of like the MMA that depressed us. That's going to be a sad one. What's the next one? Or am I coming in too late at the end?
Yep. Ours is.
What? We lost.
But yes.
Is he disappearing for you too?
Yeah, it came in and then went out.
He said yes, and now I lost him. Yeah. I'm trying to find the 198 card.
I can hear you.
Oh, I got that.
Yeah, you can hear us, but we can't hear him very well.
I mean, I can switch off video.
I can
if that
hear
might
you.
help. And I'm the last one on video anyway.
You can try.
All right, still all here.
I lost Case.
Yeah, me too. How do we lose Case?
Are you still there, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm here. Oh, Case was there for a half second.
Well, just a flawless podcast. Let's wrap up with if we can. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I didn't hear. Or you said let's wrap up, and then it cut out, I think. So what fight did you want to talk?
Okay, who kicked me out?
No, it's not. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, because it just like kicked me, and then I was like, hey.
All right, I think we're all back, though.
Okay, what's going on, though? What's going on? What are we talking about?
We don't know yet. What fight's up? Come on, Pearson, podcast leader. What's up?
I was looking at Javier Torres versus Neiman Gracie. It's looking rough for Javier Torres there.
Gracie via Gracie-ing until he gets to that medium level where that doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. He seems a little bit soft for his weight class, too. He should probably go to 55. Like, he just looks like not very solid at 170. But he does submit everybody, so I'll give him credit.
I think one of our other topics that we were going to talk was Nick Newell potentially getting signed.
Yes.
The whole situation is screwed. He's going to murder whoever he fights on that Contender Series thing.
How good is Nick Newell in our collective opinion? Because I think he's done enough to earn a UFC fight for sure, and I think he can beat some guys. Is that your is that the general consensus?
That he's gonna win the Contenders fight? I mean, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's UFC level. I think he can beat some UFC guys.
His only loss, right, is to Justin Gaethje, and it was way more competitive than Gaethje's last win. Like Newell did a lot better than his last win.
Newell did really well until he got kind of rocked in the first round. There was an illegal knee, and then he stopped doing so well, from what I recall.
Yeah.
There's no shame in losing to Justin Gaethje.
Yeah, I'd lose to Justin Gaethje. That's all I'm saying.
I would never fight Justin Gaethje. Are you kidding me?
I would fight for the money, and I would just tap once we got to the center of the cage. But yes, I feel you on that.
He still might rolling thunder you just out of
I'll have to counter Imanari roll him. You feel me? And then just not get knocked out in the moment.
That is the way to fight Justin Gaethje. You just grab hold of him and don't try not to let go.
Then he just clobbers you to death. But yeah, Nick Newell is going to do fine. He may not be top 10. We'll find out. But he will do well, and he will beat people that mock him, and they're going to look like really dumb. And yeah, he's going to choke some people. That's where I think he's going to get the wins. He's going to choke them.
I think I agree that I think Newell's going to do pretty well, and Now, I don't think he'll make it to the top 15 just because he's at lightweight, and that's really tough to do at 155.
Yeah.
But I think Newell's problem more than having, 1.5 arms is just that he gets tired in fights. And I think it's related because I think he kind of has to force wrestling exchanges a little more. And when you start, a shot or, a transition in kind of a bad position, like if you shoot from too far out, which, sometimes Newell has to do just to close the distance and make it his type of fight. Since he has to expend that energy, I think it does hurt his gas tank a little bit. So I think gas tank might be the biggest issue for him now that he's gonna, assuming, I don't know who they're gonna put him with contender series. Could be a guy that's okay, and it could be a UFC quality guy. So we'll see. But assuming against UFC, quality competition, guys that can go 3 hard rounds, I think that'll be a big challenge for him, is to be able to play his game and use the energy required to do that without slowing down if he can't get that early submission.
Yeah, I think he's talked about his conditioning before and trying to get it right. But I mean, I'm excited. And then I did want to talk about one last thing, and that was the fight that got announced like 6 times by now. Jeremy Stephens versus Jose Aldo.
Yeet.
Which I'm really interested in this fight. It's the co-main event of whatever card it's on. I can't remember off the top of my head.
It's a July card, right? It's the July card.
I believe so. And I'm not sure how this fight got announced so many times, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting because Jeremy Stephens has never looked better, and Jose Aldo, despite losing by knockout, like brutal knockout to Max Holloway, I thought he looked really good. Yeah, it's July. Okay, it's July 28th in Calgary. It's supposed to be the co-main event.
Woo.
So the pace won't be an issue, which is the problem against Holloway. And Aldo's striking defense is really good. But Stephens has this aura, like if you get into the pocket with him, he generally wins. Like you can't trade with him in the pocket. So I'm really curious of what this is going to look like for Jose Aldo.
I think it really helps Aldo that it's 3 rounds. It's the co-main event, right? Not 5.
Yes.
I think that, piecing up Stephens from the outside for 10 minutes and winning 2 rounds and then kind of just chilling the third and trying not to get blasted is a lot easier than like, all right, I have to win 15 minutes of this fight and not slow down and not give Stephens an opportunity to like smash me with an overhand or kick my calf to pieces. So I think 15 minutes, I think Aldo's jab can, just pick him up points, control range, set up counters, all that stuff, and let him kind of, not coast, but effectively win exchanges without exhausting himself for at least 10 minutes. And then I think he just has to not let anything crazy happen for 5 more, which I think is very doable.
Yeah. I'm interested if we happen, like if he shoots in this fight at all, because Aldo has really good wrestling he almost never goes to, and we've seen Stephens controlled on the ground before. Seems like if he's trying to win rounds, that could be a good strategy, especially over 3 rounds as opposed.
Yeah, I would hope he doesn't shoot, because I think when you get strikers that try to wrestle, that's a real energy sapper. I think we even saw that with Barao. When Barao fought Stephens,
yeah, that's true.
Round 1, he picked him apart. Barao in the first round of Stephens, I think, is the best Barao has looked since losing to Dillashaw. Like, he looked sharp that round. He was stinging him with jabs, low kicks, that counter hook cross over and over again. He looked great. And then he ended the round. I'm pretty sure he ended the first round and he started the second, like driving for double legs.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And like he sort of took him down against the fence, but not really at her established position. And then Stephens got up, at the end of the first, and I think in the second too, he denied the shots or like quickly got back up. And then suddenly Barao wasn't moving all that well, and now he was in the pockets with Stephens. And Stephens, even when he's tired, he knows how to hit you. He doesn't care if you hit him too. So I think, you got to be real careful. If you can time a shot and get it, and that's it, beautiful, go for it. But if you're gonna have to drive him into the fence, like work for it for 30 seconds, it's just not worth it. Unless you're losing, in which case, I mean, try something. But if Aldo's doing well in the stand-up, then I think he should keep doing that.
Jeremy Stevens by knockout. Let's go, boys.
I'm going Aldo decision. This is my pick.
I mean, I was being ridiculous. Well, not ridiculous. I'm just picking it because I want to be the outsider here, and because I think that well, Aldo, there's not like a clear way to beat him because not many people are as good as Max Holloway. I think Jeremy Stevens is willing to just bum rush him and risk getting knocked out himself to get in the pocket, and he will eat jabs. But I think that he is powerful enough to knock Aldo out pretty clearly. I think he's shown that. I think Jeremy Stevens knows this is his chance. If he's going to get a title shot at his age, this is kind of it.
Stevens is only like 32.
But at featherweight, that's pretty up there. You know what I mean? Like Aldo's just eclipsing it, and we're starting to see him. While he looks good, he's consistently looking behind the younger stars. Because I'd pick most of the top stars against Aldo at this point.
Would you?
Huh?
I wouldn't. Aldo.
You wouldn't Aldo? What?
Anyone against all.
I don't know what you said, man. I heard you wouldn't Aldo. Hello?
Yeah, sorry. My Wi-Fi is just a beautiful.
It hates you, bro. It hates you. It's okay. So you're saying you wouldn't pick anyone against Aldo right now?
But I was gonna say.
Don't know. I heard Holloway. I feel bad because I don't know. I feel like he has the opposite argument, but
Okay.
I can't know.
Saying that good discussion.
Move near the router. Move near the router.
Dude, poor Pearson was so excited to talk about this fight. I talked to him about it for like 5 minutes before the show, and we're finally at his moment, and he's just getting like random single words out.
I'm winning the debate via Wi-Fi. That's all I'm saying, guys.
I think we'll see if he can start talking again soon, but I think his point is something along the lines that he was saying Aldo looked, some of his best technical boxing against Holloway before the pace got to him and Holloway started to connect more consistently. So I'm guessing that that's his viewpoint here.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. I can see Aldo just trashing Jeremy Stevens. But you know what? This is more of like not a technical opinion of mine. It's a moment in time where Jeremy Stevens, it's like one of those, this is where his career diverges. Because if he loses here, he's pretty much relegated to fun top 10 fighter. You know what I mean? Like he's kind of been that.
Yeah.
But here's his opportunity to fight the greatest featherweight of all time. And a featherweight, while he's looked good, is on the downhill by most people would say compared to Holloway, Ortega. I would pick Ortega to beat Aldo. I would be very confident in that. Ortega's crazy. Okay. I believe in the Ortega. The hype is real. I believe. So I think that he's got a chance. He's got more of a chance than he did 2 years ago. He has more than a chance he had 5 years ago. And Jeremy Stevens looks the best now than he ever has. So if there's going to be a time for Aldo to lose to Stevens, it'll be in July. That's just I think it's like the outside pick, and I know he's going to be like, he's looked really technical. But Jeremy Stevens doesn't care about technical. That's something we know about Jeremy Stevens. If he gets in that pocket, I don't think Aldo can hang, in my opinion.
I don't think anyone.
All right, Pearson, are you alive? Let's hear it.
Is he returned?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. So I'm going to make my brief Aldo apologia, and then we'll wrap it up. But I think Aldo is better than he's ever looked technically. The big question for me is the chin, and it is whether Stevens can land on him. I think Aldo should win skill-wise. People say Aldo looks slower, he looks worse. I don't think he does. I think I would pick him over anyone in the division except for Max Holloway.
Ortega, though?
Yes, over Ortega.
Oh, dude, Ortega submits him in like a round, dog.
Ortega will never get him down.
We've proven that Ortega doesn't need takedowns. He flying guillotine. Fuck, Cub Swanson, dude.
Yeah, but Cub Swanson is Cub Swanson. Jose Aldo is Jose Aldo. It's
It's true, but again, Ortega knocked out Frankie Edgar.
Ortega.
He does the
Is a
impossible.
fight I want to see.
He does the impossible. Does Aldo do the impossible? I don't know.
Aldo did the impossible for. I mean,
you never flying guillotine a guy, and you never knock Frankie Edgar out. That's all I'm saying. Those are the two things that I'm vouching for first times ever in MMA.
Ortega frustrates me because he wins without having Cub Swanson was piecing him up, and then he just jumped on his neck and choked him out.
I wouldn't say piecing up. I think Cub was winning, but he was in there and he was landing some good shots. Cub's a better boxer. We all know it, like on a technical level, probably. At least then he was. Maybe not now after we saw Cub fight Frankie, but
yeah, man. I see people saying Aldo has declined, and I mean he has lost, but I think he only loses to Holloway. That's my current.
On a technical level, I'm with you, but on a physical level, that's all that we need to fade for Stevens to land that bomb. Stevens will land a strike in this fight, unless he gets knocked out early. Stevens will land a big strike. He lands a big strike every fight.
That is my big question: is whether Aldo can still take a punch. He looked like he could in the second Holloway fight. It was the cumulative damage and the exhaustion that wore him down. So I'm going to pick him, but yeah, I mean, Stevens, no one can hang with Stevens in the pocket in terms of like exchanging power for power. Although his defense, I think, is really good in the pocket, probably the best defensive pocket boxing in MMA. But yeah, I think it'll look a little bit like the Holloway Stevens, where you see him punch from the outside. He gets landed, but he's very defensively sound. He keeps his hands up. He keeps his head moving, and he generally avoids the power and takes the 3-round decision. That's what I think will happen. But
I can see it. I'm just Team Stevens just for the drama. I just want drama.
Oh yeah, I mean, I love Jeremy Stevens, and you're right. This is his chance. This is his big moment. If he wins, especially if Ortega somehow pulls it off against Max Holloway, and like goes 5 rounds and then submits Holloway in the 5th minute of the 5th round.
Exactly how it should happen.
Yeah, exactly how it should happen. Then Stevens would he'd be right in line for a title shot at that point.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Would if they win.
What does the division look like at the end of the year? Like what happens? Because both these fights will happen before the end of the year.
Man, I think Holloway stays champion.
Okay, Holloway stays champion. So do you think Aldo? Are they going to give Aldo a 3rd fight? Like,
no.
Yeah, if Holloway stays champion, they're not going to let Aldo fight him again. So
the Frankie rematch at that point.
So
or the Frankie first fight.
I hope if Aldo. Oh man, I was hoping that they would give Cub Swanson the Aldo rematch. Because Swanson has a couple fights he's never gotten a chance to get back. Obviously, he wasn't able to take it back against Frankie Edgar, but he looked much improved. Stuff the takedowns. I would love to see him fight Ricardo Lamas right now. But
who fight Ricardo Lamas?
Cub Swanson.
Oh, okay. To be fair, you have to remember Edgar only got 3 rounds, and that's in that 4th and 5th rounds is when Frankie got that mount and started doing awful things.
Yeah, true. But he was in the first fight. It was 2nd round onwards. It was total domination.
That's true. His wrestling looked better. There's no question.
He was training with Andrew's old friend TJ Dillashaw.
Ooh. Yeah, I don't know what the division looks like. I'm hoping Ortega's champion, even though I love Holloway, and I hope that we just have 10 fights in a row of Holloway and Ortega.
You know what I think is an interesting fight is a potential Stevens versus Ortega fight.
Ooh,
that would be
historically Stevens is very tough to submit. Now, you have to factor in that Ortega factor of he can just like grab your neck randomly and then it's over. So that's always possible. But generally, like Stevens survived a bunch of Charles Oliveira chokes and bad positions that looked pretty nasty.
Yeah.
And then Stevens's chin is like ridiculous. Like he ran chin first into Emmett's right hand, and that punch should have probably killed him. And it did, like momentarily, and then he just woke up again and seemed fine. And he's done that all of his career. His only knockout loss is he most dramatic example I've ever seen of like a perfect counterpunch on a guy way overextending. And Stevens still like was alive when he hit the ground. It took like 10 more elbows perfectly to finish him.
Yeah,
Like Stevens can take a shot.
Steven's a special breed of human being. He's a special breed.
Yeah.
We can all attest that. That guy is a special breed of human. I don't know what's up with him. But I mean, Ortega would flying triangle, and probably that's how I see that one going.
Just, I would pick Ortega. I think that's the smart bet, just because he's younger, he's so dangerous, he can finish all 5 rounds. But Stevens is the more consistent offensive output guy on the feet. He does have the takedown defense, and he hits damn hard himself. So Ortega can have a great chin, but I think Stevens has a path there to win. So I just think it's a matchup, and that if it only takes a couple fight results that are both very possible for that fight to materialize.
I'm just saying, December 2018, Stevens versus Ortega for the featherweight title. Let's make it happen.
What makes that one really interesting to me is that Ortega has an insane chin on him.
He does.
And Stevens can knock out. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like when he gets in the pocket with someone, he can knock out pretty much anyone. So I do want to see that fight at some point. I hope we get to see it before both guys, or before Stevens' career is.
Yeah. And then Ortega could unify the lightweight and featherweight titles in 2019. You know what I mean? Like,
against the maybe.
Just saying, the future's there. I'm calling it. Yeah, that's good. Unless you have something else. Are we losing you again? Right at the Oh, I heard something.
Am I back?
I hear you.
All right. Well, before you lose me again.
Hey. I think we lost Richardson too. Rest in peace.
No, I'm here. I'm just waiting for the smoke to clear.
Classic. Okay.
Okay, we heard you. Hello?
All right. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Before you lose me again, I'm going to say thank you for joining the and
thank you. I don't know what you said, but I heard a thank you in there.
I think, it was our analysis and personalities that really shined through, and he was thanking us for it.
I think so too.
That's exactly right.
Well, thank you. My great insight. Fedor by triangle. Stevens by knockout. And I don't know what my other pick was, but it was awesome. That's all I'm going to say.
After this, podcast, I feel ready to interpret some of the random yellings I hear in the streets of Sacramento and stuff, where you just catch some of the words, sort of. I feel like I'm ready to understand now. So, it's been a learning experience.
Oh, before we go, when's your next fight, Andrew? Have we lined it up?
I have not. I was hoping July, but the last time I talked to the Team Alpha Male, sort of manager guy, he said maybe September. So I have no idea is the more realistic answer. But I'm doing a powerlifting meet next week, so that'll be fun.
Okay, I want you to record that, send it to us, live stream it,
Yeah, I'll try to do something. Dude, it's really weird just because, all the lifts have to be so, technically perfect that – and I'm just doing it because it's at my gym, at the CSP, the gym you went to. They're the ones hosting it. So I was like, that's my gym. I don't have a fight. I'll do that. That'll be cool. But then I'm learning, no, all the weight you think you can do, you can't actually do, and you need to drop it by 70 pounds. And I was like, all right, well, that's embarrassing, but I guess I'll still do it. So that's where I'm at. It's very complicated.
Okay, he just sent us a message to close it down because I guess he can't communicate, but I don't know how to turn it off.
All right, well, MMA Mania audience, this has been the MMA Outsiders podcast, sort of. Andrew Richardson, Case Hartz, Andrew Pearson signing out. And Case, I think you just have to put the little hang up button.
Okay.
That's what I'm going to click, and if that doesn't work, it's Pearson's problem.
I'll
Okay.
shut it down, guys.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.